Footballs have been about the same for the last 100 years, but they kind of suck at what they do, so we went ahead and we've made a better one that you can actually get a hold of. So a traditional football was invented literally 100 years ago and was literally a pigskin wrapped around an internal bladder that was inflated. But the problem with it is actually that inflation. A typical regulation football is supposed to be inflated to 12.5 to 13.5 psi. But the issue with that is that that is never consistent. The ideal gas law, the fact that temperature changes how hard something is compressed and how much space air wants to take up, changes the pressurization of a football over time. Which is a really terrible situation when you're in a space like professional sports, where a slight difference in pressure can change how a quarterback or a receiver interacts with the ball. This outdoor sport has constant, huge variations in temperature based on the cold and the heat of wherever they happen to be playing. And if that temperature changes during the game, or if somebody inflates the ball in the locker room and then it goes out into the cold, the ball that will be played with ends up being different. Now, of course, athletes are not idiots and they're very competent and they've thrown this thing a bajillion times so that they do know how it should feel and are able to adjust based on the variation of it, because it's going to get wet, it's going to get slick, a lot of things change. But when it comes down to a situation like Deflategate in 2015, a variation in inflation creates a lot of hullabaloo and is a very expensive situation. You'd want to do something a little bit differently, wouldn't you? Now, how else would you do that? How else do you create something stiff and hard? Well, there's all kinds of balls that are stiff and hard. There's golf balls, there's baseballs, there's your bouncy ball. They're all solid balls. Why don't we just do that? Well, the issue is all of those are super small, so the fact that they're solid and dense doesn't really matter because that's kind of how they're designed. You can't make this out of solid plastic because it'd be too heavy, too cumbersome. Also, unmanufacturable because creating a lump of plastic or rubber that size is actually pretty darn difficult when it's way easier to inflate it and way more affordable. But the lightweighting is really the big part of it, because if you made this fully solid, it would weigh like 5 to 10 pounds of solid rubber in order to still be kind of squishy. That's just not viable. Well, you could say, well, Gabe, how about you just put springs on the inside that press out against the wall? Those are fairly lightweight. They're fairly lightweight, but they're not very good. And they're also, you cannot make enough springs to make it consistent. You'd have to have these pads to where it's kind of faceted-y underneath the skin. You're still wrapping it in the skin, and they'd wear out or a spring would break, all these other kinds of shenanigans to where it's just really not worth it. And inflation works fine in that situation. So there's just been technological limits historically about what you could do with a mechanical football. But that's no longer the case. 3D printing lets you make really complex internal structures and give parts different types of properties based on how you control those structures. In this case, it behaves like those millions or thousands of small springs inside of the ball, all pushing out and helping it hold its shape, so that you get something that's really lightweight, but you don't have to worry about it wearing out because all of those compliant mechanisms inside of there are keeping this ball pressurized. And they're able to do it much more consistently because the variations of normal atmospheric temperatures are not going to cause the material properties of this ball to radically change. Now, this is not the first time there's been a 3D printed ball made. Wilson Sports themselves are actually making a 3D printed basketball. And if you'll see it, you can see that it's actually really cool looking, and it's black and white and orange and looks interesting and that kind of stuff. But the only issue with it is that not only does it not look like a basketball, not behave like a basketball aerodynamically, it also costs $2,300, which is not viable. Even in the NFL, they are not going to spend $2,300 per ball for the balls, because a normal ball that's off the rack that costs 60 to 100 bucks works just fine and is what everybody has used their entire lives. So there's no reason to make a ball that's $1,000 plus. It's also not necessary. It's a bad look. 3D printing can actually mass produce a football and do it affordably for under 100 bucks. And in order to prove that, we're actually doing this. This ball is available for pre-order right now, and we will be shipping them here in the next couple months. But another thing that makes this special is that unlike the Wilson ball, this is not a big change to make. This is exactly the same as a traditional football in almost every conceivable way, from the feel of the laces to the height of the laces, to the overall feel and texture of the ball, to the weight of the ball. All of that is the same. Whereas the Wilson ball, even though it weighs the same, bounces the same, everything else, it looks too weird and it feels too weird. It messes with the headspace of the athlete and also messes with how they grip and interact with the ball because it has all those holes in the exterior of it. It's not a big deal, but it is a deal. There's a reason there haven't been hex patterns printed onto the side of balls. You cannot radically change an object when you're innovating and moving to a new way of doing things. You have to kind of slowly boil that frog because people will be scared of it. Also, by the way, $2,300 is not slowly boiling that frog in any sort of fashion. But this has occurred in other products too. If you look at like electric cars, when Tesla was first introducing their cars had a grill. And the reason for that was so that it didn't look too weird and different. They were introducing people to the ideas of electric until they got so used to it that they could say, okay, don't need the grill anymore, moving on with life. And that's effectively what we're doing right here. When we designed this ball, we made sure that the exterior was exactly the same as a typical football, so that it's not a big stretch to use this one rather than using the typical football. It feels the same. It has the same sort of texture. We have the grooves on the side, even though there aren't actual seams there, but that's part of the feel of the ball. But then we threw in the special sauce, which was the interior, that internal structure that gives it pressurization without needing air. It's mechanically compliant so that you have a ball that behaves exactly the same as a regular ball, but is now better because it will always be at the correct pressurization. And this is something that only 3D printing is able to do and has now enabled because it's able to create these really complex interior structures that can create this sort of a system, which was never possible before. Also, with the type of printing that we're using at our large print farms to produce these things, we're actually able to do it affordably. This ball costs less than $100, which is inconceivable for most 3D printing, even though it's very doable right now. We could crank out 1,000 of these. So if the NFL is watching and you really want to get away from the issues of traditional inflated balls, I highly recommend that you reach out to us, and we can go ahead and just print it in brown for you and add a little bit of color to give you those nice white laces back. And if you really want to take this far into the future, since we can control every single aspect about this ball, once people are used to the idea of a mechanical ball rather than a pneumatic ball, we can start changing other things. We can create training balls that are heavier, that are lighter, so people can get used to that. We can change the number of laces and the texture of it to make it feel wet when it's dry outside or make it feel dry when it's wet outside. All these types of things can be done with the mechanical design of the surface of the ball and is controllable through printing. And at a very low level, we can just change the name right there to whatever sports team it happens to be, and of course, change the color. You know, orange isn't terribly attractive, but it sure is high visibility when you're chucking this thing across the field, so maybe it's useful. Probably not up to spec or within the rules on that, but still be interesting and fun for, again, training and that kind of thing. So 3D printing enables all kinds of new capabilities to take something that is 100 years old and literally bring it into the 21st century that still behaves the same as the old one, but gives you all kinds of new, radical, fantastic capabilities. And in a place like the Super Bowl, where there's literally billions of dollars on the line, you probably want something that's a little bit more reliable and consistent than what you historically have had. Because it's really expensive when the best quarterback in history gets banned because the ball was cold. If you want to get a hold of this football, we do actually have it open for pre-orders. It'll be shipping in just a few weeks. This is an accurate ball, guys. This ball works exactly the same as a traditional football, weighs the same, all the rest of it, but it just doesn't need air or inflation. So we're really proud of this, and given the time of the year and the Super Bowl going on, we thought it might be a good idea to just go ahead and get it done. Comment down below if your team won the Super Bowl, and let us know what you think other types of products could be made with 3D printing so much better than the old ones that have been around for a long time. Have a great day.